Welcome to the webinar on Skill Labs. This is one of the components of the UFP curriculum. Today we are joined by IHS faculty Rekha Raghunathan and Teja Maladi. Both of them offer Skill Labs as part of UFP and are here to talk you through them. So Rekha and Teja will both take about 10 minutes each to take you through the skill labs that they offer, and then we'll open it up to questions. If you have questions or comments, please use the Q&A box and we will address those. Over to you, Rekha, Teja.
Thank you, Tanvi. Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Rekha Raghunathan, and I'm part of the Word Lab at IIHS. So the Word Lab anchors the editorial function at the institution. That means that we help everybody here write across different forms. And as an education institution, we produce different forms of publications. We have long form, short form, we write for the public. We obviously do a lot of academic work. We do a lot of gray literature. So we work with people to help them write across different forms. And what we teach in the skill labs is really based on our practice of working with faculty at IIHS. I'll tell you a little bit more about it. Teja, do you want to just introduce yourself?
Good evening. Thank you for joining. I'm Teja Malladi. I work with the Geospatial Lab at IHS. I also work with the practice team that works on disaster risk and resilience. So, Rekha said, I anchor the working with spatial data skill lab with other colleagues in the Geospatial Lab. What we do is mainly working with what kind of things that we need to understand about spatial data. How can you use that spatial data, especially in the context of urban? What kind of sources that they are? How do we able to find these? Use these for day-to-day urban problems. Figure out different tools to be able to work with these, etc., etc. I'll talk about a little bit more of these in detail after Rekha later. But along with the Word Lab and Geospatial Lab, there are also other labs at IHS, which is Media Lab, Urban Informatics Lab, and they offer a lot of skill labs of their own. And there are also other research teams and practice teams also offer their own skill labs. We will go through them again in detail. If you have any questions, we'll be able to answer about them as much as we can. But I'm sure you must have also seen the list of skill labs that we offer in the UFP page as well. So I'll pick it up after Eureka.
Cool. So before I tell you about the writing skill lab, in general, skill labs are we run them through the fellowship. So we have, if you've seen our website, and please do so for all the details on the entire program. We have a commons term, and as part of this commons term, there are a set of skill labs which everyone has to take. And then there is an advanced term where you take your electives, and in this term, you'll be taking skill labs of your choice. You'll have to meet certain number of credits, but you will have some choice in that. But the commons term is thought of as a way to bring everybody in the class to give them a sort of a base vocabulary to speak about the urban, and the common skill labs are part of this. So we offer a writing skill lab in the commons term, and our idea there is to help you think about, even before you start writing, who are you writing for, why are you writing, what is it that you want to convey? While all of us write all through school and college and everything, we don't really ask these questions when we write. We just sit down and we start writing. So we sort of ask you to think a little bit about your audience, your purpose, and the kind of writing or the form of writing that you will use to convey what it is, whatever it is that you want. In the commons term, we start off with a class where we actually read a bunch of fiction. So we look at fiction, we look at poetry, we look at different forms of writing collected on cities, and the team is sort of slowly building out on this library of readings. But that's a class which is, you can think of it as actually quite a lot of fun, because you'll be reading out loud in class. So people get to hear each other read. This also gives people who are comfortable and fluent in other languages to bring pieces of text about cities that they have engaged with in the past. So we get a chance to hear different languages and that sort of a thing. You will also be writing. So we ask you to think about it can be just a place. We ask you to think about a place and write about it. And the thing with the writing skill lab is that you'll have to write a lot. Otherwise, it's not going to become a skill that you can actually use when you need it. So we start off with something like that, and then we run classes on how do you write for the public. You may have all read newspapers, you know what op-eds are, opinion pieces. Everybody wants to write and express their opinion. We teach you how to do it. There are certain structural things that you have to learn. And then you also learn how to contextualize your research for the public. So that is something we look at. And then we run a couple of classes on academic writing itself. How do you read? How do you read a research article? How do you read an abstract? Because the chances are that you won't be writing a full-fledged article in the time of your fellowship. It's possible, but it's not often that it happens. So we sort of go over and help you understand how to read, because in all your classes, you will be doing a lot of reading. So that's sort of the focus of the Commons Skill Lab. So you will, you should think of it as a place where you'll read a lot and you'll write a lot. Teja, you want to pick it up? You're on mute.
So similar to what Rekha said, what we do with the Geospatial Lab, we understand that, you must have heard by now or read by now that it's an interdisciplinary class and there are people from different backgrounds and all of that. So we are aware of all of this. So the Skill Lab, especially the working with Spatial Data Skill Lab and other more technical ones, what we try and do is to be able to start with a very basic understanding. So to those who have not done this at all or heard this at all, from there to be able to go through that in Commons term, which is mandatory for all of the fellows. And then from there, we have an advanced skill lab for those who are specifically interested in learning the tools, much more advanced tools and a very specific area of application. That's something that we do through the fellowship. So when we start, what we try and do is we'll try and take the fellows through be able to understand what is spatial data, how is different from other kind of data sets, what makes, what is the uses of, what are the uses of different spatial data sets in the context of urban, how do we read maps, for example, and spatial data. It's not just about making maps or doing generating maps on your own. It's also about how do we read the maps that other people have generated, or to have the basic vocabulary with everybody, so that even though you might not be an expert in this, you have a sense of what it is, so that you can work with the people who are like have full training over it. That's something that we do through the Commons term. So one of the things that we try and do use is all the tools that we use and all the data that we use, all is open data. So that's something that we start building the skills from right from the day one, so that once you start, once you graduate and go to a place or work and other places, you have a sense of where all I can get the data sets, what all the things that I can do without having to buy or do or generating your own data sets. You can also start working with a lot of existing data sets and the tools also, so that we kind of work with all the open tools like QGIS and whatever the online tools that are open and free to use. So that's something that we use, so that you're not have to like start with like full software purchase and then licensing and all of that. So that's something that we kind of keep it open for everybody. So in the Commons terms, what we do is we have broken the Commons term into two major things. One is something that you work using the web-based tools. So you have data sets and you have some web-based tools, so that you don't have to worry about your computational, the resources that are available with you. You can just do things on the cloud and make web maps, so that it's much more easier to begin with. And then we slowly move into a desktop-based GIS softwares to be able to do similar things using desktop-based, to be able to give much more control over what you can do with spatial data and how you can work with them. And like I said, in the advanced one, which is an elective, so not all of you will have to sign up to the advanced skill labs. There are a lot of skill labs that will be offered to you in the advanced term. And then that what we do is, last year we have taken the examples of using spatial analysis for identifying the areas most at risk to flooding in Chennai. That's something that we tried doing in the skill lab last year. So you're trying to understand not just about what are the ways to you understand risk, but you also try and use specific data sets to map these risks and then see who are most at risk, so that you have a plan to act during the time of disasters, or do preparation before disasters and stuff like that. So advanced ones are much more application based and not just about knowing the tool itself. And like I mentioned earlier also, all our work, like what Rekha was saying earlier, is based on the practice that we have. So we use examples, we show the examples of what kind of work that we do, what kind of data sets that we use, and what kind of urban problems that we are trying to solve. So all of that is something that we cover through the fellowship. Yeah, and similarly, we also kind of go along with other streams as well. So, for example, Practica is something that runs along with the Commons term. So, you will also pick up skills that will be useful for Practica. For example, Practica is, you must have heard from the other faculty already. You like when you go onto the field, what kinds of tools that you use. So, WordLab kind of teaches you how do you write from the field, and then we teach you in terms of how do we map the site that you have seen and what are the other data sources that you can use to be able to understand about the site itself. And then we work along with other, let's say, urban informatics lab to be able to visualize the data that you analyze with the urban informatics lab, which looks at large data sets like census, NSS. So you kind of get familiar with this, and also basic tools such as Excel and other stuff is something that you will pick up there. And similarly for like Media Lab, you'll be able to understand about how to use camera, what kind of different ways and means you tell stories with movies and images, etc. So all of these skills are used in the Practica when you start, and then similarly later stage in the advanced, you also will have projects that you work on for about a couple of months, the projects that IHS is working on, so that you also have some skills specifically for those. So that's something that we'll also do. So yeah, that's something that we can talk about it at right now. Rekha, if you want to add anything, but we'll be happy to also take questions at any point.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, the way we think of this is that because we are helping people at IHS produce different types of publications, we also keep in mind that fellows who've come to us in the past, our alumni, some of them have gone on to study further. So they need a deeper engagement with academic writing. Some have gone on to work with think tanks and research spaces. So there is a component of academic work, but there is also gray literature involved as part of their work. Some people have gone on to work with, say, like a research communication sort of position. So we're also trying to see what are the kind of skills that the learners need when they go back into the world. Like what would they need to do better at their job? So we're also kind of looking at things like that. We've had journalists, we've had lawyers in the past, and each of them has gone on to a different trajectory. So we're also sort of constantly evolving the types of assignments, the way we run the classes, and so on. So this year in the Advanced Skill Lab, we actually ran a very tight kind of a 4-class module where the idea was to go from a broad idea. So when you sit down and you have an assignment, you open up your laptop, and what do you see? It's a blank, Word or Google Docs or whatever, Open Office or whatever it is. How do you go from that blankness, but knowing that, oh, I have a deliverable, to actually going from idea to outline, to giving it some structure, writing a first draft, having your first draft reviewed by your peer, and then learning how to edit your own draft, and then submitting your final assignment. And all of these things were done within the class. So the entire exercise of going from a blank sheet to a final draft was done within the 4 classes. So, I think past fellows were happy that they didn't have any homework, but the idea is to also simulate a real life kind of an experiment, right? Because that's what happens when you go into work. So we also try to incorporate things like that, where there is a reason for why we're doing certain things. And Teja too mentioned that we understand that this is an interdisciplinary class. We are part of the Skill Labs. Anchors are usually part of the admissions committee. So we have a sense that everybody here is coming from different backgrounds. Some people may have engaged with reading a lot, reading and writing, some may have not. So we don't pitch it at such a high level that you should be, worried about, oh, how am I going to manage this? Our aim is to work with everybody, and we have enough experience within our teams to be able to work with different types of people. So we just ask that you engage with it while you're there. And of course, for me, our ask is that you write as much as you can. Maybe we can take some questions now.
Yeah, Rekha, there are a couple of questions. The first one is how many, I think he's asking how many skill labs can a fellow choose?
Teja, do you want to take that or you want me to answer it?
Yeah. So I think so. How many skill labs can a fellow choose? Like I was mentioning earlier, there is the fellowship is divided into like 2-3 terms. One is the commons term, then the other is the advanced term, and then the internship, right? So in the commons term, like what we were saying earlier, Rekha was also mentioning, we understand that everybody is coming from different backgrounds. So what we want to make sure is everybody understand the basic vocabulary. They kind of understand what other people are saying, to be able to work with different groups and to be able to use some of these skills on the field during practica and all of these. So we have a basic set of skills that are mandatory for everybody during the commons term. That is something that all the fellows would undergo. And then maximum skill labs is the question that comes in the advanced one, where we offer a set of skill labs, then fellows have to choose. The minimum thing is that we have that everybody should take 36 hours of skill labs. That's the amount of credits that you need to be able to clear the fellowship. So each skill labs are of different lengths and hours and other things. So you have to choose a set of few things so that you can meet the minimum requirement of 36. You can go a little bit over. I think that's the not mandatory. There is no maximum limit, but there are also only set of hours that you can be able to do it while you're doing the advanced term, because you're also involved in projects, you're also doing other things while you're doing the advanced term, right? So so 36 hours. So the skill lab that we offer is about 12 hours. Urban informatics labs, data skill lab is about 12 hours. I think Media Lab has a longer one, which is I think 24 hours or 18 hours, one of those. And there are also some things like spatial appreciation, which are also 6 hours. So it goes, different skill labs have different number of hours for the advanced ones, but most of them have a very standard time for the commons term. So I hope that answers your question.
Teja, the second one is follows up on the first one, and it's a clarification that she's asking for. She's saying, so the fellows will undergo compulsory common skill labs in the commons term, and during elective term, the fellows can choose skill labs specific to the electives. Is that right?
So the skill labs and electives are all, I mean, what we're trying to understand is also that there are electives are also, I think, I would say the skill labs may be mostly aligned with the projects rather than the electives itself, because electives are almost like a theory or about a specific area of urban that we go deep into. Let's say, for example, there are infrastructure. There is also, for example, urban theory and economics and all the other things. There are very specific electives, but it's not very well aligned with the advanced skill labs. Projects are mostly aligned with the advanced skill labs. So that's something that you have an option to choose. Some fellows who have done certain things in the past would want to learn a few more things. Some fellows take certain skill labs that would help them getting a job that they would want to apply for as part of the internship. So there are different ways to consider the advanced skill labs, but once I think you have a sense in the commons term, you'll be able to have a much more informed decision about what kind of skills. It's very interesting, and also it is fellows go through, I think, a lot of process in terms of it's a choose ask between we always have the option of problem of people are saying that I want to take all of these, but there is no time. So it's usually very interesting for us to be also seeing that there is a lot of things, but we have to restrict to a certain things because there is also other things that you will be able to get. I hope that answers your question.
Can I add one thing to that, just on the skill labs itself? I think skill labs are a way to, they sort of allow you to pause and ask some questions. So you can be taking any elective, but because you're exposed to, say Teja skill lab on geospatial technologies, right? You may actually pause and say that, oh, I could actually apply this here. Or if you were someone who's more inclined visually and say, oh, I could represent this this particular thing that I'm working on through a series of images. That's where the Media Lab Skill Lab will come into play. Or if you like to write, your field notes could be a great way to express it. Or you could do a combination and say that I want to do a photo story. So I'll do a bit of both as part of my my elective, whatever project it is that I'm working on, or anything like that. So don't look at skill labs as just a tool. They're also a way that just help you engage with everything that you do in the fellowship, and possibly going forward in a very different way.
Rekha, there's a question for you. Will students be allowed to publish their writing on the IHS website or any other platforms?
So not on the IHS website. Actually, we don't publish. We don't have an ongoing blog or something where we can carry students' work. We've actually tried, as part of the WordLab Skill Lab, to request fellows to maintain their own blog, but it's, they just get, it just becomes too busy for it to actually amount to something. What we've had in the past is a couple of fellows have written articles for the journal that IHS runs. It's called Urbanization. A couple of fellows have done a film review and a book review. So that is an option that is open to anybody. Other than that, if you have an idea for a public facing piece or a blog of some kind, we're happy to work with you, to help you think through, structure the piece, and then, we can help you pitch it to public media platforms, newspapers, and that sort of a thing. Other than that, there isn't any other avenue within IHS to publish.
There are no open questions for now, but while we wait for more questions, do you want to add anything, Teja, Rekha?
I mean, just to also talk about the other skill labs, for example, I think the research methods is like one of the very important skill labs that is offered in the commons term and also in the advanced term, to be able to do different ways of doing research methods, like qualitative, quantitative, then different ways to conduct interviews on ground, coding the interviews, etc., etc. So there are a lot of these basic methods that we used. Sorry, I don't know if I'm audible. I just mute for a
Sounds like a train is running at the back.
Yeah, I live next to a railway track, so this. Something like these. So the Urban Informatics Lab I briefly mentioned, they do a lot of with the open large data sets like census, NSS, and other things, and then we will take you through, for example, starting from the basics of Excel to using advanced tools in like analysis in the Excel, etc., through the term. Then Media Skill Lab is one of the things that also go from in commons and also in the advanced terms, where you would be able to tell stories with photos, videos, and you will be taught editing, and you'll be making a film on your own as a group and part of the advanced ones. So there are multiple things, like what we were saying earlier, is to be able to understand and represent the urban in different ways. So these are also as methods to be able to understand the problems, also communicate and explain about the problems, and also finding different ways to be able to find solutions to these problems. So it goes across all of these as well. And there are also a lot of data visualization skills that would be developed both in spatial and urban informatics labs and all of that. So just thought yeah, that's it from my end. If there are any more questions, we'll be happy to answer those. Yeah.
There's a question which is saying, are writing and reading circles something that the WordLab facilitates for the fellows?
We'd like to, but I don't think the fellows honestly have the time. Everything sounds very exciting, when you look at it on the website. There is a lot that you can do, but I think really once the work sort of catches up, it becomes quite difficult. So earlier we were running reading circles for people at IHS, and if the fellows had time, if it happened to be during their, coffee break or something like that, they would pop in. But yeah, maybe if you join us, you can work with us, and we're happy to set it up.
There's a question which says, what are the day-to-day timings of the classes? How does a typical day of an urban fellow look like?
Yeah, so most classes start by 10 in the morning. They go from 10 to 1:30 with a half an hour break. And then you have a 1 hour lunch break. And then you have classes again in the afternoon. And this is on the days that you have your core courses in the commons. Skill lab days are a little bit different. Skill labs are split into shorter sessions. So you'll just have them running in the afternoon. But in general, Mondays through Thursdays are quite packed between skill lab and your commons courses and practica, which runs pretty much throughout the course of your entire commons term. So it's a busy day, in short.
Question saying, does it become more difficult to get involved with more number of skill labs? As there are a number of skill labs which catch eyes? As there are a number of skill labs which catch eyes?
So in terms of, I think it's mostly like I said, the commons ones is something that everybody takes through. So it's all mandatory. It's all part of the schedule. As we move into the advanced ones, there is a scheduling that you have to figure out also, because there are few electives and labs all are offered in parallel. So that's where your choice comes. It depends on the availability of the faculty and the different things that are happening in IHS, based on which the skill labs are and the electives are scheduled. So based on the schedule and your interest, you have to pick and choose between a few of them. And like I said, advanced ones have a minimum limit of 36 hours. That's something that we, based on the number of skill labs offered and the kind of schedulings, that might change a little bit here and there. But there is a minimum thing that you have to see. But there are few things that are offered in parallel. So you have to pick between few and not all them for sure in the advanced one.
No more questions for now. Okay, there's a question. Do we have any given number of projects to add in the sample of projects? I assume sample of work.
Yeah. Usually it's one project that you will be, so at the end of the commons term and the beginning of your advanced term, you will be given a list of advanced skill labs and what you will be learning through advanced skill labs, electives, and what do the electives cover, and the projects different, like a brief about the project. So you kind of give your options in order of preference, and then we usually try and give it to the first preference that you have, but it's only one project that you work through your term, but not multiple projects. So I hope that answers your question.
I wonder if they're asking about the sample of work as part of the admissions application, right? Is that?
I feel it might be the sample of work.
Yeah, I think you have to add one sample of work, and if it's something which is like a group project that you've been part of, please indicate very clearly which part of the work was actually done by you, rather than giving us, a 60-page sample of work with your name also as one of the authors. It will be useful to indicate which part you helped anchor.
Yeah, no open questions for now.
We will be happy also to take other questions, like they were coming about the fellowship or anything else also. So please feel free to ask, and you all must be seeing the deadline. So I encourage all of you to be able to do the applications in advance, and don't keep it till the last moment, because sometimes there are technical glitches and other stuff. So finish it as early as you can, and don't put it towards the end, and so that you have enough time to think and respond to the questions that are there. It's a little bit elaborate, but it's quite straightforward, and
so the Commons and Electives webinar will already be available on the website, but if not, they'll, at least by tomorrow morning, it should be up on the website. When will the list of candidates selected for the interview be out? Actually, by mid-May, people who are selected in the first round are contacted and interviews are set up. So if you're selected in the first round, you'll be hearing from us somewhere between the 2nd or 3rd week of May.
Yeah, we usually want to give all the fellows who are selected enough notice so that they can, if they're already working, they should have enough time to give notice to their employers and stuff like that. So we hope we will, I think, finish all of the process by beginning of Jan, so that there are like a few months, 3 months at least. So July, August, yeah. So something around June, we should be able to. So mid-May, you will hear us. You will hear from us about the shortlisting for the interviews.
So our next webinar is on Thursday, and you'll be hearing from some of our alumni and current fellows about their UFP experiences. So please join and ask them all questions related to their experience with the UFP. So thank you, everybody. And if you missed any of the previous webinars, they're up. Some of them are up on our YouTube channel. So please go and watch them. Bye. Thanks, everybody.